All right, we are going to go ahead and jump right in. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We are excited to continue our Guide Talk series this month, focusing on your campus departments and your student body. Today's conversation is all about delivering actionable strategies for fostering collaboration between departments, among your students, and among your campus guests to create a more collaborative environment for students and staff alike. We'll start with some intros. My name is Sarah, and I am a higher education account manager here at Guidebook. I work specifically with our higher ed clients to help oversee their guidebook deployments and to brainstorm how Guidebook can help make their lives and students' lives easier. My background is in higher ed. I worked at Northeastern University in Boston for about 10 years prior to joining the Guidebook team. So I love being able to stay connected to the world of higher ed, and I'm really looking forward to walking through our presentation today. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Sam, for an introduction.
Thank you, Sarah. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Sam, and I'm the higher ed account executive here at Guidebook. And essentially, I speak to universities just about every day, have conversations, and collaborate with them to do our best to enhance their current processes through mobile technology. Right? We'll speak about what they're currently doing, figure out what's working, what's not, and then dive into the Guidebook and the platform and see how that might be a better solution for those problems. I'm really excited to be a part of this Guidebook webinar, and I do want to mention that there are going to be some questions that come up, I'm sure. So if you have any questions, please just post them in the chat, and we'll address all of them at the end during our Q&A session. So back to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sam. So let's jump right in and review the key points that we will be discussing today. First, we are going to talk about some of the common barriers that educational institutions face when implementing and expanding a university mobile app. Then we will explore methods to facilitate collaboration and communication among different departments on campus to really create that unified approach that campus staff and students will benefit from. Next, we will review strategies for encouraging departments to embrace your Guidebook app, recognize its value, and most importantly, to see how it enhances the student experience. Sam will then show us the full potential of Guidebook's engagement tools to create a more connected and vibrant campus community. And lastly, we will close out the webinar with Q&A. So as Sam mentioned, please share your questions in the chat throughout our time together. So let's start with the barriers institutions face when implementing and expanding a university mobile app. Two of the most common concerns we hear from our higher ed clients about implementing Guidebook are, we don't know how, and we don't have time. Now, coming from higher ed myself, I can completely understand these concerns. It is no secret that higher ed professionals have a lot on their plates, and that many departments are facing high staff turnover, which makes any new project daunting to say the least, especially one that involves a platform you're unfamiliar with. So while these concerns are valid, Guidebook offers a solution that is easy to use and will save you time in the long run. On the next few slides, we'll discuss strategies that Guidebook schools have employed to help overcome these barriers. So we work with schools across the US and beyond of all types and all sizes. But one common thread across most of these schools is the concern about the lack of communication between departments or the feeling like you're working in silos, making it extremely difficult to implement a new idea beyond your department. So let's discuss some easy ways to increase collaboration across the board. No matter how siloed your campus might feel, odds are that your department has the same or similar goals as other departments all across your institution. Some of the most common objectives we hear from Guidebook clients are to increase student engagement, to reduce time spent on administrative tasks, and to decrease printing costs. So having some of those clear goals in mind will help you communicate your plans and measure the value of Guidebook to your campus partners. If you have already implemented Guidebook in your department and you're looking for ways to get other departments on board, show them what you've created. Share your guide, share the feedback you've received, and share your guide metrics and how they relate to the goals that you set out when you were getting started. Doing so will open up a communication channel and make it a lot easier for others to join in on the Guidebook fun. And finally, chances are that you are not the only person excited about implementing or expanding the use of Guidebook on your campus. So look for fellow staff and students who are enthusiastic about new technology and who understand its potential benefits. You can spearhead cross-departmental collaboration by working with key people to champion the change. And once you have their attention, showing your colleagues and student body the benefits of Guidebook will come easily. Here are a few ways that our clients promote the adoption of Guidebook across campus. So our clients tell us that Guidebook is incredibly user-friendly and intuitive, and we agree, but that doesn't mean that you have to do it on your own. So if you're new to the platform and unsure of where to start, or if you're just looking for inspiration from other schools, your account manager is a great person to connect with. They can help you brainstorm the best ways to organize content and show you some tried and true tips and tricks. Our support team offers quick guidance for any technical questions that might arise throughout your build, and our support site has articles that walk you through each feature in detail. Once your content has been compiled, building your guide is a great project to delegate to student leaders. They often have a keen eye for mobile design and will offer great suggestions and feedback along the way. And once your first guide is built out, use it again. You can easily copy your guide from year to year or event to event to kind of create a template and save time for future builds. But most importantly, the Guidebook platform is going to help you meet students where they are. The average smartphone user spends 3 hours and 10 minutes each day using their device, and apps account for around 90% of that smartphone usage. Guidebook can be used throughout the entire student life cycle, from the moment a student expresses interest in your institution all the way to graduation and beyond. The more departments that use Guidebook on your campus, the more cohesive and consistent the student experience will be. So I'm now going to pass things over to Sam, and he'll walk us through a few of Guidebook's features that help to maximize engagement and communication campus-wide.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. So just as Sarah mentioned, before we get into the demo portion of the webinar, I want to make sure, and it's really important to know what Guidebook's engagement features are. So by simply adding those features to your app is a great first step. But here at Guidebook, we want you to fully unlock the potential of our engagement tools, which will allow you to create a more connected and vibrant campus community. So here are a few listed features that you can implement into your app to help maximize your student engagement. So the first one being the interact feed, and this is essentially a social feed. We like to call it the Facebook of Guidebook, and it acts in a very similar way, and you guys will see that in just a bit. The connecting chat feature, which is one of our primary communication tools. Live polls, pretty self-explanatory, right? Real-time feedback, surveys, another really beneficial tool to receive feedback from parents, faculty, students, and then push notifications. So let's dive into the demo portion and see these features in action. So I'm going to move over and share my phone. So this is an example of CSU's year-round guide, as we call it, a year-round resource for the students to go to whenever they're trying to find any relevant information. Now, on the interact feed, that's the first one that I want to touch on. So as soon as I open up the main menu, you can see the interact feed is there, but all these other features are listed out here as well. So if this is your first time seeing Guidebook, I want you to know that all of these features are totally dependent upon what information you want to communicate. You get to pick and choose what features you put in the guide, and you also get to change the names as well as customize the logos on the left side here. So this is going to give you an idea of the overall structure, but when it comes to the nuances, there's a lot of customizability. So jumping into the interact feed, this is going to give you an idea of how CSU is utilizing it. Now, this feature will provide a dynamic feed for any upcoming schedule sessions, announcements. It will allow comments and photos from fellow students as well. It's a really powerful tool to not only get your students engaged with one another, but also to be in the know about what's happening around campus. Right? It can be used as a forum to extend dialogue beyond the walls of just a physical room. So as you see, they decided to post potential scholarships, right? Students can apply for certain scholarships. So it's kind of like a news feed in a sense, just letting students know what's available. They use it, letting all the students know that the baseball game is canceled. What a bummer. But pretty much the sky's the limit when it comes to information that you put on here. Now, jumping over to CSU's orientation guide, they're using the interact feature again, but in a different context, right? They're using this to allow students to, introduce themselves to the rest of the campus, right? So you can see that certain people will introduce themselves. You can post pictures, you can comment on here. Again, it's very interactive and a very social platform. Now, I do want to note, as an admin, you will be able to monitor and oversee all the posts that go on here, and you can take down any posts that you might deem inappropriate or inconsistent with your school's values. But ultimately, we've seen a lot of universities take advantage of this feature in different ways, and we've heard a lot of positive feedback from both faculty and students. So that is the interact feature. The next one that I want to jump to is what we call our connect and chat feature. And as I mentioned, you can rename this to whatever you'd like. So they named it just attendees, and in a smart way, because this is going to list out all of the attendees or all of the students that have shown up to whatever it might be, orientation, or they just applied and are in the college currently. So this is going to list out all of the students who log in and keep their profile public. And this will allow students to connect with one another and actually chat with one another one-on-one through the app. So it's essentially like texting or sending direct messages through the app. And having this functionality is really beneficial because students connect and communicate with one another without having to share personal information such as phone numbers or email addresses. So you can have that initial connection and communication within the app. And then from there, those relationships can blossom through whatever they might turn into. The next feature I want to touch on is live polls. Now, I don't have anything to necessarily show with this because it has to happen in a live way, but this feature is pretty self-explanatory and simple. Obviously, there's a few different people that could utilize this. If you're giving, a tour guide, so a tour guide could use this, professor or any sort of speaker can ask the audience to answer certain questions and gather those results in real time, right? These results can also be displayed on a screen if you'd like, which would give your speaker information to help structure their presentation as it continues. But most importantly, it's going to encourage audience and student participation and engagement. Now, another feedback tool that we have, as I mentioned, is surveys. And this can be used in a similar way, but I want to jump over to High Point University's guide, and they use this for a few different events, but one of them is Family Weekend. And if I jump onto the main menu here, you see down here at the bottom, they have Family Weekend's feedback. So this is just a native survey, and once they go ahead and submit it, all that information gets tabulated onto the backend portion for all the faculty and admins to have access to and export. You can have 1 or 2 questions, you can have 25, and High Point University kind of falls on the ladder. They have a lot of questions here, but they're receiving a lot of very valuable feedback based on the students and families' experience from Family Weekend. So they're first going to figure out, what kind of students were showing up. Was it mostly freshmen? Was it mostly sophomores? And then they also ask, I kind of like the question, besides spending time with your student, what was your favorite event, right? So they're going to figure out what was the favorite event, what was their least favorite event, so that they can continue to improve each and every single year on the event that they host. So again, sky's the limit with this event. You guys can ask any questions that you would like to for your students and just receive a lot of really valuable feedback from them. So the last feature that I wanted to touch on was notifications. And right within the app, at the bottom here, they named it inbox. And this is where all those notifications are going to live. But it's a push notification. So your students, faculty, whoever is going to receive it would receive it just like any standard notification, right? Just like you were receiving a text message or a notification from Facebook, you're going to get an alert on your phone. And push notifications are a really great way to communicate directly with your students. Now, the way that those work is you can actually schedule out push notifications before they need to go out, right? So if you want to do it, maybe you have orientation coming up or some sort of event and you want to not have to do it the day of 15 minutes before everything starts, you can go ahead and schedule that out. It's a little bit less stressful. But of course, there's last minute changes, emergencies, updates that you need to communicate, so you can push out notifications on the fly as well immediately. You can also target who receives those notifications by targeting certain student groups. You could target just freshmen, you could target just seniors, transfer students, nursing students, engineers. Again, sky's the limit. You can create all of these different groups, and really whoever that notification is going to be most relevant to, you can target them appropriately. So as I mentioned, push notifications are a really great tool as well because it can bring them back to your guide and increase engagement to your content. Right? You can also use this feature to share important updates to your students and point them to specific features or information within your guide at a certain time. Right? Maybe you want them to take that end of day survey, or you want to highlight a recent post in your interact feed. There's really a lot of versatility within this function. So that's not all. There's a lot of other features, but I do want to mention or have one honorable mention, which is our QR code scavenger hunt. So essentially the way that this would work is our support team will help you create QR codes. You would simply print them out and then place them all around your campus for your students to find and scan within the app. So this will not only entice your students to use the guide more, but it will also provide them with a fun, engaging activity that will help them better understand how to navigate around campus. And one last point is, I recently spoke to a university, it may have even just been yesterday, and they were looking to use the scavenger hunt tool to give out scholarships to students that complete it. So what's important to remember about all of these features that we just went through is that there is no one hard and fast rule on how to use them. Like each university is going to take advantage of them in their own unique way. So the way that you see CSU or High Point University use our features, you can choose to do the exact same. You can choose to use it in a completely different way. So it's totally dependent upon what information you want to communicate to your students and what kind of experience you want to provide them with. So with that, it is time for our Q&A. So I'm going to hand things back over to our moderator, Gabe.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sam, for walking us through those engagement features. And so, as Sam had mentioned, we're going to walk through a few questions, but of course, if we miss any, we'll be sure to follow up with you after the session. And so our first question will go to Sarah. And Sarah, the question is, what's the adoption rate for students using and engaging with the app?
That is a great question. And this is something that we talk with clients about all the time. And while adoption and engagement can vary between events, I think the most important thing to remember is that you have more control over it than it might feel like you do. Because the best way to ensure a high level of adoption and engagement with students is to thoroughly promote your guide or app prior to your event. GuideBook has some great promotional materials available to help you with this, including invitation emails with instructions on how to download and access your guide, and promotional QR codes that users can scan to get access. And then as far as engagement goes, you can get really creative with some of those features that Sam just walked through, sending notifications to drive students into the guide, to implement live polls to really get them involved and collect feedback, and to encourage them to connect with one another through Connect and Chat or the Interact feed to really start building up that campus community.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Next question is for Sam. And Sam, I believe you touched on this briefly during your demo portion, but the question is, are we able to give certain users access to information and sessions than other users?
Yeah, great question. So we do have what we call preset schedules, and that would actually allow admins to create custom schedules for different users and groups. You can also create what we call gated lists, which allow access to certain custom lists or just certain information to specific users and user groups as well. So really, it's just going to be catered towards making sure that the most important relevant information is going to the appropriate student or student group.
Awesome. Thank you. I believe that's it. And so I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And also thank you to Sam and Sarah for being wonderful GuideTalk presenters. I did see there's one question. from Grant and Sarah, Sam. Either one of you could answer this. But the question is, we use Slate for admissions and student access. Does Guidebook have the ability to integrate with Slate?
I can take this one, Sam. This is a super common question that we get all the time. We have lots and lots of Guidebook clients that use Slate as well. We don't have a built-out integration with Slate as of right now. However, we do have an open API. So if you have a team on your campus who can build out that integration, then you can kind of build in a custom integration for your guide. But there's also really easy ways to kind of pull information from Slate over into your guide using our bulk templates. So if you're looking to pull, people who are registered for your admitted student day into your guide, you can do so pretty easily through our Guidebook user management tools.
Awesome. And there were a couple more questions in the chat. Thank you for everyone who has submitted a question in the chat. And Sam or Sarah, either one of you could answer this. But the question is from Jen, and it says, can you gate a schedule or just a custom list?
I can take that, Sarah. You're able to gate just a custom list. I believe that would be. So you can preset schedule so that essentially the way that would work is, actually, you can technically gate both. So if you preset someone's schedule, it's going to fall under their My Schedule function. And then that's only going to be seen by that specific individual. So you can do it for both the schedule and then also custom list or general information item.
Awesome. And one more question. Again, either one of you can take this, but it's from Alicia. And it says, is there a way in Guidebook to have attendees check in so we can see who attends which event, session, etc. in a report?
Another great question. And yes, we can. So there's a way to set up attendance managers in your guide that can scan in users who are registered for specific sessions, and then administrators can later pull up reports of guide users who have checked in. So as long as someone is logged into the guide, they will be given what we call a Guidebook ID, which is a QR code specific to their profile that we then use to track attendance at any registration required sessions within your schedule.
Awesome. And I see one more from Jen, and she says, gate schedule on web or just mobile? So can you gate schedules on Guidebook web or just mobile?
Yeah, I could take that. So preset schedules are tied to like a user account, which can be accessed by both mobile and web. So short answer is both. It just totally dependent upon how you decide to set it up and just making sure that they're logged into that account.
Awesome. I don't see any other questions in the chat, but what we will be doing is we will send a follow-up email with resources, including the recording and slides from the session. If you have any additional questions or would like to learn more, please reach out to your account manager or submit a demo request on our website. And we look forward to continuing the conversation. So again, I want to thank Sam and Sarah for being wonderful presenters, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.